Hi, this is Bill Nelson. I'm the Grand County Council Advancement Chair, and we are going to go through a brief discussion on advancement tracking for unit leaders. This will be a pretty high-level how-to discussion on what tools to use to track your advancement of your scouts in your unit. So the presentation will cover where scouts and parents track advancement, where units track advancement records. Now with Scoutbook and other computerized tracking systems, is the Boy Scout Handbooks even necessary anymore? And how does Council and National track advancement? So we're going to go through all of that stuff, and how do we keep different things in sync, and what happens if a scout moves either from one unit to another unit, or moves from one location to another location across the country or somewhere else in the BSA. So let's first talk about where the Boy Scouts of America stores official advancement records. The advancement records are stored in a database system that goes by a couple of names. It goes by ScoutNet or Kayla. It is stored, it's on a computerized database, and the database is secure, and you can get access to inputting it with internet advancement. The reason why we store it there is it's backed up, and it is secure. Not everybody can get to it. In fact, only one person in a unit is given the password to internet advancement so that they can input into it. The National Council can access it, and the local council can access the records to process advancements and to verify advancement for things such as Eagle Scout. And it stores historical data. It stores data over the years, so it's there and it's backed up, and the stuff stays there so that we can look back at records that are there. Now, there are a number of disadvantages. The security that's around it and the limited access. Right now the system is hard to get to. Like I said, there's one password that's given to the unit to input records through internet advancement. Now, the accessing of information, you can access it what they call unit key 3, and they can delegate 3 other people in the unit to access information that is in this system, and they do it through something we call My Scouting Tools, which you may have heard of. So you can access the data that is there to a limited extent. Scout advancement records and leader training are the 2 things that you can access now that are stored in the database, and some contact information for the members of your unit. You can access all of that stuff right now through My Scouting Tools, but as you can tell, it's limited. I mean, how you can get to it is limited. It doesn't store individual requirements. So on the advancement view, which is what we're going to talk about here, it doesn't store each individual requirement. What it stores is the ranks on the date that a scout achieved the rank, special awards that they may have earned, and merit badges. And that's about all on the advancement side that it stores. So it's limited to what it can store in this system. So let's talk a little bit about where today units store advancement records. For a long time, years and years, and even today, most advancement progression is being tracked in the Boy Scout Handbook or the Cub Scout Handbook, and there's sections there that you can track advancement at the requirement level, and people can sign off each requirement individually. So you get an initial of a person, so you can kind of figure out who it was that signed them off, or they sign it, and it's done requirement by requirement. So that's a big advantagement. You know what those people are, who's signing them off and what they signed off as the scout progresses through the ranks. Another advantage of tracking in the handbook is that the tracking stays with the scout and moves around with the scout. So the scout's got possession of the book, and the scout can have it and look at it. The parents, easy for the parents to look at it because the scout is with them. So those are advantages to tracking it in the book. A lot of disadvantages. The book can be lost, or it can be dropped in a lake and ruined. There's no backup. I mean, if you're just tracking it in the book, you really have no backup. If the book is lost or ruined, trying to recreate the whole advancement is kind of hard to do. And that's why units have started to go to electronic systems. But let's just talk about the disadvantages. It's not in the BSA database, so you have to get you got to get that information at least when he becomes gets rank, and when he gets special awards, and when he's a Boy Scout he gets merit badges. You have to get that information into the official BSA database somehow. If a leader wants to look at a book, he has to ask the boy to bring the book by so that he can look at it, to do spot checks and things like that. And there's no automatic reporting obviously coming out of the book. There are a lot of disadvantages. There's more disadvantages that you could probably think of if all that you're doing is tracking your advancement in the Boy Scout Handbook. But I want to point out a need for these handbooks, and don't think that all I'm doing is dishing them. The handbook has originally been written, and it still is, the boy's how-to book. So how to do each of the requirements is in the handbook. That's why we have handbooks. At the Cub Scout level, they discuss each of the adventures as the boy is progressing towards rank and how to get those requirements done. And in the Boy Scout Handbook, it teaches the Boy Scout how to do the skills that are required from the Scout rank all the way through first class. So these books have an extreme value. They're not just tracking tools. So I want to make sure everybody understands that the book is there as a how-to book to teach the scout. But in the advancement side, we're also tracking advancement in them. Okay, let's talk about the electronic tracking systems that are out there. There's a number of them out there. There's Troopmaster and Pack Tracks and a bunch of other ones out there. I'll talk about Scoutbook, since that's owned by the BSA. But you can things that I say about Scoutbook, you can probably point to other packages like Troopmaster and say, well, that's true with Troopmaster as well. So it's a computerized tracking system, and there are a lot of advantages to it. In the sense of Scoutbook, it's web-based, it's secured, and it's backed up. So the advantage of Scoutbook is that you don't have to back it up. The system backs up itself. It's in a secure cloud environment. Not everybody has access to your boys' records. The records are encrypted as they go through the network, and they are in a secure environment that only certain people can access. However, it's easy to be accessed with passwords that you have, and you have private passwords. The parents can access the Scouts records and look at them, and in the case of Cub Scouts, they can sign off on requirements. The parents can allow access for the boys, and the boys can access and view their own records and their own advancement, and they can track themselves through it. These systems like Scoutbook allow you to see the progression of the boys and figure out what percentage of the advancement is done towards the next rank. A lot of nice features to it. Scoutbook is web-based, so you can anywhere that you can get to the web, on any platform that you can get to the web on. That includes phones and tablets and laptops and desktops and TVs or whatever you can get to the web with. You can get to Scoutbook from, and you can credit the boys with advancement in real time. So all of that is great. And merit badge counselors can look at how the boy's progressing and sign him off, and the boy can see that he's being signed off on merit badge requirements as well. All of that can be done using Scoutbook. So there are tons of advantages to using it, and I don't want to waste time going into all of them, but it's a real nice system. Okay, so what are the disadvantages from our vantage point here of recording and tracking advancement? Well, it's not in the BSA database. It's not in ScoutNet, which holds the BSA data long term. It's in a separate database record that stays with the unit. It doesn't follow the Scout. If the Scout goes from one unit to another unit, you don't transfer the data for the Scout. That's not easily done. So it's unit oriented. Okay, so that is another disadvantage of the system. So how do we then solve this problem? How do we make it so that we can use the different systems and stuff? Okay, first off, don't stop using the handbook to sign off on the requirements. It's still needed because the record stays with the Scout and moves when he moves around. So even though it's in these other tools, the record is also with the Scouts. The first thing that we ask, if later on, and it could be years later, we look and say, hey, there's a problem here, we need to know when he became first class, and if he was signed off. So if you have the book, you open the book and you point to it and say, yeah, he was signed off. Okay, so it's still the best first source to go to for advancement. So keep it around, keep it up to date, make sure you're using the books to be signed off on. You have to use Internet Advancement to get the Scout records into ScoutNet Akela, the BSA database. So you don't have any choice. Somebody in your unit has to update the ranks, the merit badges, and the special awards through to ScoutNet, through the BSA database. We need to have it there. So you have to use Internet Advancement, and you have to get it into the BSA database. Now the good news there is with Scoutbook, this will become a click of a button in a year or so, and I've got a graphic on that I'll show you, and you'll be able to view what's in ScoutNet Akela with Scoutbook as well in future. Here's my little graphic. So right now Scoutbook allows you to, here's Scoutbook, this yellow cylinder here, and this is the BSA database, this blue one. So, and they're separate. As you can see, they're separate databases. Scout records, their advancement records, and leader training records, with a click of a button can download into Scoutbook now. So it's virtually a click of a button, and a wheel spins, and that data is updated in Scoutbook, and then you can look and use it in Scoutbook all the time. So you have visibility that way into the system from Scoutbook. Eventually, hopefully this year or next year, it'll be that easy to move all of the Scout advancement into the national database. So even though I'm telling you got to get it up there now, In the future, the good news is it won't be too hard to do that. Currently, what we have to do is we actually have to download it into a file. File has to go into Internet Advancement, and then that file gets uploaded into the national database. So it's a disadvantage now that there's like a two-step process to get it through there, and you have to use Internet Advancement. You don't have to type it, but you have to get it in there. We have a separate video that walks you through that whole process, but I wanted to show you now that there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so let's look at what happens when a scout moves and what we can do to move records. As far as ScoutNet and Akela, the BSA database, is concerned, if the scout is moving from one unit inside the council to another unit inside the council registrar can move the scout. You give them the membership ID of the scout, and they can transfer that scout to the other unit, and all of his records move with him. If he's going from inside the council to another council, then you can print out a member summary report from Internet Advancement for that scout. The member summary report is on the same page that you input his rank advancement manually. So if you're going to input his rank advancement, on that page in the upper left corner is a member summary report button. Click on that, select the scout, produces a PDF file that you can give the scout that he can bring to his other unit at the other council, and they can put in the data that goes into ScoutNet. Another way is if later on, if he moves and that you forget about, you didn't give him a member summary report, that other council can request a member summary report from our council, and then they can get it and put his information into their version, their part of ScoutNet, Akela. So that right now, that's how you move a member from one unit to another in the BSA database. On the Scoutbook side, since it's web-based and has a central database, you can transfer a scout, the scout's records from one unit to another unit if both units are using Scoutbook. And you can find more information on how to do that on the forums at Scoutbook or by contacting Scoutbook. And I'll give you a contact email at the end of the presentation. Also ask for a member summary report from the computer software you're using. So if for example, they're not both on Scoutbook, or you don't know where he's going, go ahead and print out a member summary report from Scoutbook or Troopmaster. I think they call it a history report in Troopmaster. Print one of those out and give them to the scout, and he can take that with him to the other unit, and they can use that information to input into the records with whatever software they're using. This is important if it's your unit tracking software that you're using holds more information than what ScoutNet Akela holds, which again is just rank advancement, special awards, and merit badges. And then finally, he'll have his handbook as well. And as long as you're keeping the handbooks up to date, he can bring that to the new unit, and they can go from there. That's usually plenty of information for them for their advancement records. So that's what you do when a scout moves. So what's the bottom line? Okay, so the bottom line is to take advantage of the new technology while using the old. Still use the Boy Scout Handbook and the Cub Scout handbooks. Keep track of the advancement that's in there. You got to use Internet Advancement and upload your stuff to the national database before the Scout Shop will allow you to purchase the rank advancements and merit badges. and also take advantage of the new technology. There's too much that those new tools give you for you not to use the new technology. So use the new technology, but remember that you have to keep them all in sync. And that's going to be the job of the advancement person in your unit, is to keep these three components in sync and try to keep them in sync. If you are tracking individual requirements with the computerized tool, let's say Scoutbook, it becomes a little harder, because now you're signing off in the Scout Handbook and you're trying to keep up to date in the tool. So keeping those, it's more things that you have to put in sync. If all you're keeping in sync in the individual tool, computer tool, is the rank advancements and merit badges, it's easier, because you can do it when you do the internet advancement work. You do internet advancement, keep your tool up to date, and you get the internet advancement report, and you go to the Scout shop. So you kind of do that all at the same time. But if you're doing each individual record and you're tracking them, let's say in Scoutbook, you need to also, our recommendation is you track them in the Boy Scout Handbook as well, because if that Scout moves, his record has to move with him, and you don't know when he's going to move. They may or may not tell the unit they're moving. You may find that out afterwards, or at the spur of the moment, or whenever. Okay. Questions. If you have questions about this short presentation, feel free to send me an email. I am at gccadvancement1@gmail.com. There's lots of stuff on Scoutbook out there. We do have some more videos. If you go to this link, you'll find more Grand Canyon Council videos, and we have videos on Scoutbook and a little bit more of introduction to what that is. And check our Facebook page, Grand Canyon Council BSA on Facebook. We have lots of information there, not only having to do with advancement, but with events that the council sponsors, and a lot more information on merit badge classes, all kinds of stuff. So take a look at our Facebook page. Grand Canyon BSA is the name of our Facebook page. Thank you for sitting through this short presentation.